Welcome to Global 1 Vocabulary. This one covers basics and human development. You have two options for recording your vocabulary. One is flashcards. I suggest you write the word and put an image on the blank side of the card and write the definition on the lined side of the card. Flashcards work really well. You will need a hole punch and a ring to keep them on, however, unless you have a nice little box you can put them in. But you want to keep these words so you can use them to study for your midterm and your final exam, as well as your regents at the end of the second year. Another option is to write them in your notebook. I suggest using 3 columns. That way you have a column for the words, a column for the definition, and a column for the images. And that will make it easy to study. So let's get started. All right, first things first. What's the difference between history and prehistory? Prehistory is the time before written records. History is the time after the creation of written language, and this can be different for different cultures. There are still some cultures in the world that do not have a written language, therefore they are still in a prehistory stage. The U.S., however, we've had writing ever since we were established pretty much and colonized by the Europeans. Written language dates back to about 5,000 to 8,000 BC. So keep in mind, history and prehistory, one has writing, one doesn't. All right, our social sciences. Political science is the study of governments. Anthropology is the study of human development. Archaeology is the study of artifacts, and keep in mind, artifacts are man-made objects. So when you're thinking of archaeology, think along the lines of Indiana Jones. Geography, that is the study of the earth and its environment. And economics, that's the study of resources and how they're used. Most people equate that with money, but when you're talking about ancient history, a lot of it is barter. You could trade a chicken for a bushel of corn, things like that. Or you trade work for resources that you need. All right, a primary source. That is a first-hand or eyewitness account. Somebody who was there and saw it and wrote about it, or an image that was taken at the time. Secondary sources are second-hand accounts. That means that they heard it from someone who was there, or they've written it about things that they've read that have happened there. This could be a painting, whereas a primary source would be a photograph. Climate, that is the weather pattern for a region. Longitude, that is imaginary lines circling the globe, and they run north and south, so they measure the distance from east to west. Latitude, that's the imaginary lines that run east and west, but they measure the distance north or south of the equator. And it's your latitude that frequently determines your climate. The farther north or south you go, the colder it gets. The closer you get to the equator, the warmer it gets. Topography, that's just a fancy word that means the study of the surface of the earth. Is it mountains? Is it flat? Is it a desert? Is there a plateau? Are there canyons? Are there rivers? That's topography. Resources. These are all of the things you need to survive, starting with the basics of food, shelter, fuel, clothing. And then it gets into the more fun things that you would like to survive. Scarcity. That is a word that means limited. There's not enough. Economics is based on the idea of scarcity. There is never enough of anything, therefore you have to make a choice. Now on to human development vocabulary. Bipedal, that means to walk upright on 2 feet. We are the only creatures in the world that walk upright on 2 feet regularly. Other creatures can do it, but they don't. Hominid, that is a bipedal human-like creature. Human, that's a modern Homo sapien sapien. Yes, I wrote that word twice. It's there on purpose. Dr. Leakey, he is the anthropologist that proved humans originated in Africa, not in Asia. Technology, that is anything that makes life easier, whether it's a tool or an idea. The development of language, that is when humans started using spoken words and sounds to communicate, and that is what allowed them to cooperate, and that is what allowed humans to develop faster. It's a major turning point for human behavior. Culture, that's a way of life. And social structure or hierarchy, that is organizing people into different social classes with status, privileges, and rights. Once people start talking and organizing into groups, you tend to get a leader, and then you tend to get people at the bottom, the followers. Remember, you want to find an image for each word. I don't care if you find it online or if you draw it yourself, but an image, especially if it's more than one color, will help you remember the words better.